And two, the state of black males is horrible. I mean, it's as bad as it gets. It's real easy for people to think that they have a sense of what's going on with black boys, but in most cases you really don't. Even those who are going to the good schools and those who are living in the suburbs and living in many of your houses are catching hell from the time they enter a classroom. There's somebody all too willing to tell them that the things that they're doing are downright criminal. Things that would otherwise be considered basic boy stuff. There's somebody who's constant in their stuff, just making them feel like they just don't fit. From the earliest of ages, there's behaviors that are just boy things. Like for instance, if a teacher were to give a group of pre-K boys an action figure, and he would give, or she would give a group of pre-K girls a doll. The girls, y'all know what y'all would do with it. You'd come up with a whole scenario, right? You'd have a husband and a wife, kids, and y'all would share it, and somebody would, you know, you'd put clothes on her, and you know, there'd be a whole scenario. She'd have a name, right? The boys would take it apart. Yes. First thing they would do is take his clothes off. The first thing they would do is take his clothes off. And then they would take it apart. And they would take his clothes off to see if he had a pee-pee. Because that's just an important thing. And then they would hit each other with it. And that would be the game. And then the teacher would call home. And they say, Miss such and such, just like, and the teacher goes, I'd like to talk to you about something. Jakeem did something today. And it's not normally what he does. He's normally really good with his friends, but he was destroying school property. He was hitting his friends, and he did something sexually inappropriate. And you'd be like, shut up. I'm going to kill this boy. You can't get to the building fast enough because you want to break his arm like you did the action figure. Because in many cases, the you who's getting the phone call is a woman. So you're hearing these things, and they sound like the most horrible things on earth. There's no filter through which these ideas of what your child has done has gone through. It's just your child did something really bad. And you're ready to snap because in your mind, I've never seen him do this before, right? That's every parent that we call, I've never seen him do it before. Because there's another side to this too. So then you come, and you say, I've never seen him do it before. And so then you sit down with the 4-year-old and you say, tell me your side of the story. And there's a grown person now jockeying for their side of the story. So somewhere between the conversation, what we recognize is missing is a man. A man who can give you another perspective. To say, well, y'all chill out. Mom, teacher, just everybody just breathe. You say to the boy, don't break anything else. Because that's the one thing he did do. And then in many cases, if you're an administrator, you say to the teacher, you do realize that you gave them a setup. Like that assignment was a bad assignment. And the kids only did what the kids are being called to do. But without someone stepping in, they're not just by gender, but by having the competency to take a look at it from a different perspective. This is what happens in pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and by third grade, it's a wrap. Little boy's been put out of class so many times, and he spent more time out than in. And his confidence is ripped. It just doesn't exist. He has no sense of self. He feels like, I don't even fit here. So he knows he's going to get thrown out. So he, you know, he'll set it off as soon as he gets there. And then because of the thing that we never talk about as a black community, and especially as black men, he has no emotional intelligence. And forget just the academic, he can't read really well, because in most cases, even if he's going to a good school, there's one thing, but in most cases, most of our kids are going to raggedy schools. And you can't even really call them schools, they're buildings with people who call themselves teachers that don't educate. So keep it 100. If y'all can't hear anybody else, then you're going to hear something different. So there's no man who has the wherewithal within himself, because no one ever taught us this, to be emotional, to to be able to express ourselves in a meaningful way, to be able to work through crying and those feelings and to deal with hurt. So all that happens is, from the time a boy is born, we tell him don't be a girl. Everything about him is don't be a girl, don't be a girl, don't be soft, don't be, and everything is about, I mean, we just punch him with it, literally punch them with it. You ever see somebody play with a little boy? They punch them. Everything, we go over the top with it. And so, he never develops the emotional wherewithal to deal with the feelings of feeling ostracized, so what he does is he reacts negatively. So you have this perfect storm of women who are interpreting a boy's behavior, and then no man in an integral role in any real way on a regular basis to help the interpretation, and then he's not in this position to support the boy's emotional development, to say it's all right to cry. You don't have to just wait for somebody to die to cry. Right. Because there's only things that, you know, by the 4th grade, men in here will tell you, like, if you still cry past the 4th grade, it's not a good look for you. Right? You really can't cry past the 4th grade. Like, I can remember how many times I cried since the 4th grade. And they haven't been recent. So, what happens is, early on, there's a subconscious, because no one's doing this on purpose, and I don't want to make that part clear. There's a subconscious plot against the full-on emotional, intellectual development of our boys. So they're academically out of the classroom, and then they're emotionally out of the conversation. And then if you talk to men, if you know, when you get to a point in life, men actually can talk to men and feel comfortable about having emotions. You spend your whole life trying to grow up to be a tough guy, and if you happen to be someone who uses your mind, then you got to really play it up. Like, yeah, I can read, but I'll fight you. Because you want to not appear soft. So at some point, you look up and you are a father, or you are a husband, or your father, or whatever the deal you have is, and you recognize, wow, I'm still carrying around all this stuff from the time that it was being packed in as a child, and I don't know how to emote. Like, even if many men wanted to cry, I mean, if they really wanted to cry, they cannot. And what you find ultimately is that men, all the way back to boys, are far more sensitive than girls. And mothers know this. That's why y'all are so quick to, oh, don't hit my baby, you know? Because you know that the boy, if you have a daughter and a son, you know which one is tougher.